Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about the cost of living in Switzerland in 2025. Now, as a quick disclaimer for everyone, remember that the cost of living is something very relative and it varies a lot depending on which canton you live in Switzerland. And even within the same canton, there can be different type of cost and expenses from town to town. But I want to give you an honest overview about my personal cost and about how much does it really cost to live in Switzerland in 2025. So if you are thinking about moving to Switzerland, or if you are just like wondering how much it costs to live in the most expensive country in the world, this is the right video for you. Before I jump in breaking down the cost of living in Switzerland, I want to remember to smash the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet, and to leave a thumbs up below because this will help me to grow my channel. And if you did already that, then it doesn't matter. So let's start with one of the biggest expense that you will have if you're living in Switzerland, and that comes with the rent. The rent can vary a little bit depending on the city, the canton where you're actually living. But I have to say that in Switzerland, the rent is one of the highest expense that you're gonna have to pay at the end of each month. Doesn't matter if you live in Zurich, Geneva, Basel, Lugano, or in a small town, rent here are very expensive compared to the rest of the world. Of course, you may end up paying a little bit less if you live out of town, or if you live in places that are a little bit more far in the countryside, or for example, if you live more close to the border. But at the end of the day, you will probably pay more in rent here than anywhere else. When it comes to rent, we are paying right now in Ticino, in a small town near the border, 2,180 Swiss franc for 120 meters square apartment with garden and terrace. You may think, oh, this is a very great deal. It is a good deal if you think that the same space and the same apartment elsewhere in a big city like Lugano or Zurich or Geneva will cost you probably 3 times as much as it costs to us in this area where we live. But keep in mind that the location plays a huge role when it comes to the rent. And Switzerland has very high standard for housing, which is one of the reasons why the rent is very high compared to the rest of the world. If you're a tenant in Switzerland and you're renting an apartment or a house, you will have to pay a mandatory insurance on the house, because this is something that they do to protect the house itself. So for example, the management company that is renting out the apartment to me requires, when we are signing the contract, to show the proof that we have paid an insurance for housing and for belongings. This comes with a cost which is not super high, but you have to keep in mind, for example, that I am paying around 490 Swiss franc per year for like tenant insurance basically. And so if I have any type of damage that will be claimed at the end of my rental contract, then I'll have to open a claim with my insurance, and then we'll have to see with both parties if actually I made the damage, if actually that damage can be charged to me, and then depending on what type of excess you have with your insurance, then you'll end up paying something or pay nothing. So that's something that you have to add on top of your rent. Next up is insurance. And in this case, we are talking about health insurance. Health insurance is probably the second highest expense that you're gonna have if you decide to move to Switzerland. In fact, it is well known that health insurance premiums are going up year by year. This year, for example, as an independent, I am paying with a complementary insurance, which I'm going to explain a little bit later what it is, 600 Swiss francs per month. And from January 2025, we are going to pay 650 Swiss francs per month. So every year is actually raising in between 8 and 10% of what you pay on the previous year, which is crazy. It is true, the healthcare in Switzerland is probably one of the best in the world, but that comes with a price. The good thing about the health insurance is that it's partially deductible, so part of it can be write off as an expense for you when it comes to tax declaration. And also the other good thing is that if you have a good insurance with complementary insurance, you will have a lot of things that can be reimbursed to you. Like for example, you want to buy a new pair of glasses, you can get that fully reimbursed. You want to go to a spa treatment, you can get that partially reimbursed. You want to sign up for a gym, you can get that partially or fully reimbursed. So there is a lot of advantages that can help you to manage that cost, pro your wallet in that way. So yes, it is true you're paying a lot of money month by month to health insurance, but at the same time, you can do something in order to get that money back, basically. The third expense that we are going to talk about is car insurance. So we're still in the insurance world, let's say that. And the car is definitely something that you may need to use if you are commuting between cities, or if you're commuting between a town and a city, if you have to go to work, if you have to go grocery shoppings, and so on. The car insurance in Switzerland is not so high, but still, for Casco, which means like that everything is covered, any type of damage is covered. I'm paying anything in between 1,400 and 1,600 Swiss franc per year. Now, I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly the number, but that's roughly a range that you're going to pay on a normal crossover. I own a Renault Capture, so it's a normal crossover, it's not an expensive car. And that is like whatever we pay every year for car insurance in Switzerland. Another thing that you have to think about is the tax of, it's like a circulation tax that we have here in Switzerland. This is kind of like different in between country to country, I guess. For example, in Switzerland here, they're looking at the horsepower of your car compared to the weight of your car, and then there will be a number. For a car like mine, which is a Renault Capture 2021, it is about, I think, 250 Swiss franc per year that we pay for this circulation tax, basically. Let's stay in the car world and let's talk about if you're actually renting apartment. Okay, most of the time in Switzerland, they will not have a space for like a parking space for your car. You'll have to rent that too, and that will come with a cost. Sometimes the cost it's in between 25 and 50 Swiss franc per month for that parking space. But again, it depends where you live, because of course, if you live in Geneva or Zurich, that can become like 100 or 150. So that also like an expense that you have to keep in mind. The fourth big expense that you're gonna have in Switzerland is certainly groceries. You probably heard that in Switzerland, groceries are expensive, and you probably heard that here in Switzerland, the quality of the food is very high, and so that's why you have a very high prices when it comes to products like meat or milk and things like that. But at the end of the day, you have to find the best solution for yourself. For me, because I am in a place which is right on the border with Italy, okay, it is more convenient for me to go and do grocery shopping in Italy, do the tax-free, so get also like taxes reimbursed into my wallet, and then come back home. So for me right now, the groceries, it is tricky to say, oh, that will be the cost for you if you move to Switzerland. If you move to Switzerland, you live in a border with Italy and you go do grocery shopping in Italy, then you will spend probably around 400 Swiss franc per month in grocery shopping. If you're living more in the countryside, so more in the internal part of Switzerland or North Swiss part of Switzerland, then you'll probably spend anything in between like 600, 700 Swiss franc, I think, if you want to eat good. If you want to eat shit food, then yeah, of course you'll spend probably less. But if you're eating meat, like me, fish, fresh food, let's say, you're gonna spend a little bit more. And of course, if you are more than one person, then you have to bear in mind that that cost will be multiplied per two people. So groceries are not cheap in Switzerland. And again, you have to find the best solution for you. Another expense that is extremely crazy to think of for me, that I'm European and I come from Italy, it is the phone bill plan and the internet plans for your house. Here, if you own a phone and you get yourself a roaming data plan with no limits and phone calls, you'll be spending, for example, with Swisscom. I have Swisscom, which is one of the top brand for communication here in Switzerland, you will be spending anything in between like 69 Swiss franc and 89 Swiss franc, depending on what package you choose. Of course, there are like promotions when you just join, their plan, so you'll probably like have some advantages, and or if you have like partner, the same, you can have some advantages, some discount on the plan, but roughly that's the amount if you want a no limit internet plan. Same thing is for the internet plan for the house and TV. If you have a TV plan for the house, you're gonna spend roughly around 80 and 100 Swiss franc per month. Personally, I do have an expensive internet plan at home because I game and I use a lot of internet, so I wanted the high speed, and here in Switzerland it's one of the fastest one, I have to say. You can get up to 10 gigabyte fiber optic in terms of like internet speed at home, so it's perfect. But for example, for the TV plan, I don't have a TV plan because I don't watch TV. I prefer to watch Netflix and things like that, so I just pay whatever, you know, it's the subscription price for the private TV in that case. Let's jump on utilities and bills, like for example electricity. You'll pay electricity every 3 months here in Switzerland, if I'm making a mistake, but I think it's every 3 months. It will come by mail into your post mail, and roughly we are paying right now in this house around 300 and 350 Swiss franc every 3 months. I'd say it's convenient, it's not cheap and it's not super expensive, considering that we are working from homes, we are using computers 24/7, we have electricity on 24/7, and we live at home most of the time, so we use a lot of electricity. So I'd say it is very good, but also we have to mention that we live in a new apartment complex, so that means that we have solar panel, green electricity, and so therefore the price for electricity per kilo, it's lower than an average whole Swiss house in that case. Another utility bill that we pay every year is the garbage. The garbage is around 100 Swiss franc per person, so I'd say it is okay. The trash system here in Switzerland works very good, specifically the recycling, because every city has their own bag which you have to buy, and then there is like a trash can for general trash near your house, and then you have collecting point for the trash to do recycling in the city in various points. So you can take your plastic or your glass into this collecting point and then just trash it there. There is a calendar that you have to follow, and make sure you to follow because the fines are very high. You can pay up to 10,000 Swiss franc if you're actually trashing in the wrong can or in the wrong day. So be careful about that. But I have to say, when I moved here, it was a little bit weird because in Italy we don't have anything like that. But then I saw like how I am adapting to that system, and also I saw the fact that, you know, this country is super clean. Like you go out, there's no one piece of paper or cigarettes or anything on the floor, and that's amazing. The people here are very like recycling mindset, so I really like that about this country. And yeah, I think 100 Swiss franc plus whatever is the cost of the bag to trash your garbage, I think it's okay. It's okay. Now the final topic, okay, the final expense that you gonna probably have. Of course, you could have as many as you want, but I'm saying like probably the biggest expense is going to be tax. So the taxes are different depending on which canton you live and depending also on which city you live. So it is very hard to have a general overview about this. So again, this is something very relative, but just to give you an idea, okay, you can actually visit a website that I will leave below in the description, and you can calculate your taxes on your income. I'd say it's actually very precise, 80%, I'd say, in terms of accuracy, because of course, like you have to think about all the write-off that you're gonna have. So not just about your gross income and your net income, but also like all the write-off that you're gonna have there. And there is also like specifically the health insurance, for example, and many other small things. But also there is another big thing that we have here in Switzerland, that it is deductible from taxes, which is the third pillar, or terzo pilastro if you are living in the Canton Ticino. The third pillar is basically like a private pension scheme or as you want to say, like a life insurance, okay, that you can add to your yearly saving, okay? So what do you do is basically you decide an amount that you want to contribute. There are different amount limitations depending if you are independent or if you are an employee. For us that we are independent, I think it's around 30,000, 32,000 francs per Swiss franc per year. And so you can basically put this money into this third pillar, okay, like a saving. This money will be available to you anytime, and you basically once you reach the pension age, okay, you can take them all in once, so you don't have to basically take it bit by bit as a normal government pension scheme. And also the good thing about this is that they are deductible from your taxes. So once you file the tax return every year, you can deduct the full amount of what you put in this third pillar from your tax return, which is something that it doesn't exist in any other country, as far as I know. I mean, in that portion, okay? So like 100%. And then also once you're gonna get the money out from this pension scheme, the way as this money get taxed is like way better than your tax on income, basically. So it is very convenient, and if you're smart, you should start investing in this third pillar as soon as you can. In fact, this is the first year that I'm living here, and the first year we right away invested in this because this can help us to pay less taxes during the year, but also in the future can build a very good pocket saving that we can use for ourselves, for our children in the future. And so that's actually something that, you know, I recommend you to research, and also like it's something that you have to keep in mind if you're actually moving in Switzerland. So that's my breakdown about the cost of living in Switzerland for 2025. This guide is up to date because we are actually in the ending of 2024, so I've already rounded up all the numbers for you 2025. Of course, there could be things that can go up very last minute, and again, you have to look at your position, your situation, your location where you are. It can be very relative when it comes to saying how much it costs to live in Switzerland, but just so you know, this is the base, okay, that you have to look at. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you smash the subscribe button if you didn't subscribe yet, and leave a thumbs up below. And if you have any question, there is a comment bar below, and I will be coming back to you very shortly.